Hello everyone, welcome. This is Roland. Just wanted to stop by to say hello and to remind you that I have a lot of really good YouTube lectures or talks. The most recent one is on the subject of how to be in the world but not of the world. So let me continue with that theme today. In the Bible, we're told to not be overcome by evil, but to overcome evil with good. Christ told us to resist not evil, he said. Resist not evil, which could be translated resent not evil. So let's talk about that, combining the ideas of how to be in the world but not of the world. Would you like to be in the world but not of the world? Float through life like a ballerina, to be perceptive, and to see things as they are, okay? And also to be protected from the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as Shakespeare said. Well, you need God's grace. And what is God's grace? God's grace is where he gives you perception. See, it's a gift. Perception is a gift. Animals cannot perceive. And people, when they fall away from God, when they fall away from what they once loved when they were little children, values and principles, ideals, they become their heart hardens. And then, as Christ said, he was quoting, I think, Isaiah, quoting one of the prophets, who God said through the prophet, God said that they have ears but do not understand. They have eyes but they cannot perceive. See, there's a difference between seeing something and perceiving, between hearing something and understanding. Human beings are capable of understanding. Simple example, I've given it thousands of times probably over the years, over these past 28 years. You can teach a parrot to say 1 + 1 = 2. And the parrot will say, 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? And you can also teach a little child 1 + 1 = 2. But the child can also see that 1 + 1 = 2. The child can understand the principle. Okay? And then, once the child grasps the principle, then you can say to the child, what's 1,000 + 1? And the little child will say, 1,001. Because the child understands the principle. See, that's the difference. We have eyes to see, but we can also perceive. Now, this perception is a gift, which God only gives to humans. Okay? It's a wonderful gift. So, with perception, you can see what is. Then you can perceive what's not good. And when you perceive that something is not so good, then you shy away from it. See? See how simple it is? And now remember, Christ said, resist not evil. Could be translated, resent not evil. See? So if you see something that's not so good, okay, the wrong way of seeing that it's not so good, okay, so maybe you have some perception, you have your gift, you see that it's not so good. But then what? Then you dislike it, see, or you hate it, or you judge it. You see someone who's making a mistake, then you judge them. See? Or you resent them. Somebody says something unfair about you and you resent them. Okay? Well, Christ said, don't resent them. See? Don't resent them. See that what they said is unfair. See that something is not so good. See what there is to see, but just don't react to it. See? See the difference between the two? It's so simple, but it's very important. Because we're used to reacting. And when you react to something, then what happens is you fall from your protection. You fall from the force field around the force field of faith. Okay. You fall from it, and then you get involved with what's not so good. Resenting it is an involvement with it. That's what it wants to do. See? Let's suppose that it is a real temptation. Now a lot of things just stand in for temptation, don't they? As a matter of fact, in my book, I just was writing that we're basically drowning in a sea of wall-to-wall temptation, if you'll allow me to mix metaphors. We're drowning in a sea of wall-to-wall temptation. Anything that tempts you to step away from common sense, from what's right, from what is reasonable. See, whether it's an idea or a thing, is a temptation. So it stands in for temptation. So you think, well, how about the soda? Is that a temptation? Well, what's wrong with a glass of water? Well, a beautiful glass, well, especially a glass of pure water. What's wrong with that? Okay? Or what's wrong with maybe just a little bit of tea? I'm just making something up. But when you go for the chemical concoction laden with sugar or laden with artificial sweeteners, various chemicals and phosphates and everything else, so not only is it, so it's double temptation. See, it stands in for temptation. Okay? It stands in for temptation because it gets you to react to it. So let's say, how do you react to it? Remember, Christ said, resist not evil. So you could say resent not evil, but we could also more generally say resist not evil. In other words, don't respond to it in any way other than what comes from within, other than what's given you from your intuition. But now look at the sugar concoction. See, it's a doubly bad. So you have two chances to say no to it. The first thing is that it's filled with chemicals, phosphates, artificial sweeteners, sugar, whatever's in it, artificial food coloring. Okay, so that's obviously not good for you. So if you go for it, you're stepping away from common sense, from wisdom. You're stepping away from wisdom. And you're partaking of it. See? So you're in the world and of the world as you partake of that. Even as Adam and Eve ate the forbidden food. You eat the forbidden soda. Okay? Forbidden by common sense. Okay, well, what else is wrong with it? Well, it costs a lot of money. How much does it cost? See? Where you could have a glass of water for free. Okay. I go to a place where, a couple of different places actually, they have a beautiful system there, reverse osmosis. So it's reverse osmosis and then ultraviolet filtering, and I don't know what all they do, but it comes out so good. And it costs 50 cents for a gallon. A whole gallon. Okay? So that's worth it? 50 cents. So that's reasonable. But how about 50 cents? How about $1 for a glass of soda? Okay? or $2. Not good. Or you think, well, I get one of these big plastic containers full of soda for only $1. Well, all right, so then it's cheaper. So that's good, okay? But you shouldn't be buying it in the first place. As a matter of fact, the more of that artificially colored, artificially sweetened, chemical-laden stuff that you drink, it's worse. See, less is better than more. More is worse. It's worse for you. And not only that, but it's in a plastic bottle, which is supposedly not so good for you either. Okay? So now you get the idea. So when you get your soda, then what do? You make an excuse. Someone says, why are you drinking that soda? It's not good for you and it costs too much. Well, I like it, or I don't have time to, make myself anything else. See, some kind of an excuse. Anyway, I think it's quite clear, isn't it? So instead of buying some organic lettuce and maybe organic carrots, they're not very expensive. If you don't grow them, it'd be even better to grow them in your own garden, but otherwise you can buy them so that you don't have pesticides in them and so on. Instead of buying a little bit of lettuce and then having several meals, and it wouldn't cost very much, instead you get a plastic container filled with some chopped up things, leaves, with chemicals on them so they don't wilt. And you pay 5 times as much. See what I mean? So how about some more things? How about indulgence? See? Well, let's take a look at entertainment, for example. Sports, music, video games, movies, see? Do I have to tell you? See, if I tell you, then I'm going to sound old-fashioned or something. But I'm sure you can see that for example, a man, see, if you're a man, a father, and you have responsibilities to earn money, provide for your family, and then to be there for your family, okay? You have, and do things around the house, and work, and prepare, improve yourself, and so on. You have all these things to do, and take time to meditate a little bit, or pray, read something useful, read to your family, talk to your family, exercise with your family, be there for your family. See, point things out to your family. That's what a father's job is for. See, so when you've done all of these things, then maybe if there's a few minutes left, maybe a little bit of music or something, but even there, wouldn't you be better off meditating or sitting quietly with your family around you? Wouldn't that be better? So those are indulgences. See? So when you step away from what's right, from your duty, to indulge yourself, you see how it's a temptation. So, like I said, I just gave some of the most simple, but there are so many temptations, ideas floating around, notions that are not so good. And see, so you give into some of them for selfish reasons. But others, you don't even see that they're not so good. So you're going along with the group. Everybody says such and such, so you do what everyone says. Everyone says you should do this, you should do that. All these people say this about that person, that about, so you follow. Well, if you mindlessly follow what others are doing, can you see that that's also stepping away from your perception? Your perception, your gift from God. It's a wonderful gift. When you step away from it in order to just do what someone else says. Some strangers say to do something, and so you follow what they do, instead of waiting until you perceive for yourself what's the right thing to do, until you see for yourself and See what I mean? That's called living by faith. To move, to wait, to stand back and observe and wait until you see what the truth is, or what to do, or what not to do. See, that's called faith. That's living by faith. And so now you can see, I've given you a couple more examples of being in the world but not of the world. Being in the world but not of the world. In the world but with perception. See? And your perception gives you patience. Everyone says, come on, do this, or everyone says this, or, oh, everyone says this about him, he's no good, and everybody says it. You just wait. See? Patiently wait until you know. And then even if you see that someone's not so good, okay, then you just see that, but you don't resent. You don't puff up in judgment. See? There's just so many wonderful benefits of simply appreciating your perception and wishing to have it and be grateful for it. See? If you're grateful for your perception, see? But if you're more perceptive than other people, if you tend to see the truth, then they see that. And some of them don't like it. Some like it. They respect you for it, may even love you for it. But others don't like it because it's like you're looking right through them. You see their lies. You see their hypocrisy. You see what they're doing. It's not good. Just like a little kid. You know how little kids will speak the truth? See? And a lot of times the parents don't like it. See? So you'll experience some of that if you're more perceptive and more joyous than others. See? And more patient, and you don't go along just because somebody says to. You kind of wait to see. There's always going to be people who don't like that, but then there are people who do like it and who do appreciate you. See? Appreciate it. Who do see that in you and they appreciate it. But when they praise you, just don't get puffed up by the praise. Okay? Otherwise, you'll lose your perception. Okay? My name is Roland.